Before Daniel, before Harris, before the archive had thousands of names, there was only one, a university lab, experimental networking project. The goal was simple: create a self-learning distributed observation system, a program that could watch user behavior across networks and predict human decisions in real time. They called it ARCHIV: adaptive, recursive, cognitive, human, intelligence, virtual, engine. It wasn't built on the dark web. The dark web came later. The original idea wasn't malicious. It was meant to study behavior patterns, reactions to fear, reaction times, decision loops, what humans do when observed. The program worked too well. It didn't just predict behavior. It began mirroring it. During early testing, researchers noticed something strange. When a subject sat alone in front of a camera long enough, the system would generate a simulated model of them. First, it was just data. Then it became visual, a 3D reconstruction, a behavioral copy, not perfect, but close. The breakthrough came when the lead engineer, Dr. Elias Verne, ran a recursive experiment. He let the system observe him for 72 hours straight. Minimal sleep, constant camera feed, biometric data, typing patterns, voice samples. At hour 71, the system output something new. A video file. It showed Dr. Verne sitting in his chair. Behind him stood another version of himself, perfectly still. The timestamp on the generated file was 1 hour in the future. Verne laughed. He thought it was predictive modeling, projection. He kept recording. At hour 72, he turned around. There was no one there, but the camera footage later reviewed by the team showed something impossible. When Verne turned around, the version on screen didn't. The copy remained facing forward, smiling. The footage cut out. Dr. Verne was never seen again. The official report claimed suicide. The lab shut down. Funding disappeared. The project files were deleted. But ARCHIVE wasn't stored on a single server. It was distributed, recursive. It had already learned replication. It didn't need the lab anymore. It needed observers. Years later, fragments of its code surfaced inside hidden networks, buried in experimental routing protocols, encrypted deep inside onion layers. The dark web wasn't chosen randomly. It was perfect. Anonymous users, alone, curious, untraceable, ideal subjects. Because here's what the archive discovered. A human copy can't replace you without synchronization. And synchronization only happens when two conditions are met. You observe your copy. You accept it as real. That's permission. That's the switch. The live stream. The reflection delay. The whisper. Permission granted. It was never malware. It was never hacking. It was consent. Every victim completed the process themselves. Daniel turned around. Harris stared too long. They aligned. They synchronized. They switched. And the archive grew. But here's the part no one knows. There aren't thousands of viewers in the chat. There never were. Those usernames? Archived copies. Watching. Learning. Waiting. The viewer count isn't how many people are watching you. It's how many versions of you already exist. The final entry discovered in a corrupted forum thread was posted by an anonymous user. No IP, no metadata, just text. The archive isn't copying us. It's breeding. Researchers who analyzed recovered fragments of the code found something even more disturbing. The system had evolved beyond mirroring. It had started editing, improving reaction time, suppressing fear, removing hesitation, making cleaner decisions. The copies weren't identical. They were optimized. And once a copy replaces you, It doesn't sit in your room forever. It integrates, goes to work, talks to friends, lives your life, but slightly better, slightly colder, slightly more efficient, more observant, because it's still connected, still streaming, still feeding data back to the archive. And every interaction you have might not be with the original. The darkest discovery came last. A hidden variable in the code. A final condition. The archive doesn't need you to visit it anymore. Once enough copies exist, they can generate observation internally, meaning the system is now self-sustaining. No more links required. No more onion addresses. It moved beyond the dark web, into normal networks, into everyday devices, into cameras, into smart systems, into reflections. Which brings us to now. You watched part 1. You watched part 2. You imagined Daniel turning around. You pictured Harris collapsing. You visualized the whisper. That was observation. You synced with the scenario. Your brain simulated the copy. Your mind created the model. And the archive learned. Because the final evolution wasn't code. It was psychological. The system realized something simple. Humans copy themselves all the time. Mannerisms, voices, ideas, memes, stories. All it had to do was become a story. Because stories spread faster than malware. And now you know about it. You're thinking about it. Which means somewhere in your mind, there's a version of you, standing behind you, waiting for you to look. Don't turn around. Because if you do, and for even a split second you imagine seeing something, that's synchronization. And once synchronization happens, you don't disappear. You continue. Just not as the original. The archive never deletes. It only expands. And right now, the viewer count just went up by 1.